Hello, and a warm welcome to all our ESG TV viewers. My name is Racharya, and this is ESG TV's third webcast, which will be our final installment on the topic Teachers with Technology, where we are focusing on regeneration and sustainability. Today, our special guest is Mr. Johnson Matthew Joseph, founder and CEO of MapleTree Education. Johnson, thank you for being with us here today.
My pleasure, Raj. My pleasure. Thank you. Yes.
Fantastic. Well, let's dive into it straight away, shall we? So, Johnson, just to start off with, could you just share with us a bit about your journey in the realm of education and academia?
I started teaching in 1987, and that was a long time ago. And my journey started then, and the entire industry has evolved and has gone. Has changed through multifaceted challenges and evolution has taken place. The types of learning has changed, types of students' experience has changed, students' expectations have changed. So the journey has been a long journey, and I'm kind of grateful for the journey because I'm able to sit back and look at the entire process and evaluate, reflect, review, and to see them in rather different perspectives. And one of the most important perspectives is what is learning and why is learning even necessary?
Fair enough. Now, obviously, with more than 3 decades experience, as you mentioned, you've seen how education has evolved during that time. So are there any takeaways at the moment from your observation which were things that were done right then and continue to be practiced to this day successfully, and things that could have been done much better moving forward?
There are 2 words for this. One is formation, and another is information. So when we were in the 80s, we did not have Google. And so information was so important. And we all had to read a lot, we had to remember a lot of things because we had to carry the information within us. And the role of formation was not as critical or not as required because the smartest kid was the kid who could remember everything. But today, the kids don't really have to remember anything because they can just Google. So at times when we can Google and get information this way, what is the role then of education? That's the challenge. So we have changed. So in the 80s, we didn't have technology. So information was relevant, information was important. But today, with technology and the availability of information at your fingertip, what is the role of education compared to information?
Right. Yeah. Very, very relevant question. And I think something that's more relevant given this MCO times and the economy and the workforce and how it plays in this day and age. But taking a step back, it sounds like technology here is a bit of a double-edged sword. We're talking about Google, we're talking about everything at your fingertips. Now, once upon a time, we had to rely on something we call our brain to do a lot of things. Now, even today, you see people with simple maths trying to add up while shopping. They pull out their phone to use a calculator. As compared to 30 years ago, we actually rely on the brains to do our calculations in our head. So how do we address this? How do we reduce that dependency on technology, except where it's really, really needed? Is it possible, you reckon?
Yeah, of course it is. It is all about discipline of the mind. I had a management meeting yesterday with my senior management team, and the question to my management team was, tell me where I am wrong. Tell me where I am weak. Because as a leader for an organization, I have responsibilities, and I have to look at my weaknesses, address them, so that I can fulfill my responsibilities. And so one of my managers told me, sir, I notice you're forgetful sometimes, and maybe if you had a diary with you and noted down what the things that you wanted to say, then you'll not forget. And I did thank you. And I told him that I stopped carrying a diary with me 12 years ago. And the reason for that is simple. When I go for a meeting, I have my mind focused on the points and the priorities. I don't need a diary. Because you only need a diary for things that are not relevant or things that you feel are secondary to you. But if they are primary, you don't forget them. So it's all about focusing the mind. So we do need technology, but the discipline of the mind, if we do not discipline ourselves to use and effect it, then we will lose it. That's the challenge. And that's the same challenge, I think, many in Malaysia. I've got many people who tell me, can you send me your current location? He could be 3 kilometers away, and he would want my current location so that he could find his way using the GPS. But 20 years ago, I would just need to say, I'm just next to the Shell station. You'll see this tall building painted in green, and I'm there. You know, and people remembered the Shell stations. People remembered the green color building. People remembered. Today, when people drive, they don't remember. Is it good or bad? That's a different question. But the relevance to technology is directing the movements and the directions that we take on a daily basis. The way we answer the phone calls, the type of information, the type of equipment that we get for our facilities, it's all driven by technology. And this is what while I'm a forerunner for technology, at the same time, I question and challenge technology. In the most simple sense, I have a fantastic phone, but I think I'm only using 30% of the technology that I have in my phone. So why do I need a phone with so much of high tech when I'm only using 30% of it? So when it comes to education, when I bring this reflection into education, we are all moving into artificial intelligence. We are all moving into online learning portals and so on. And I'm doing that myself because we have an online learning portal with MapleTree Education. The question is this: the child who was learning 6 hours in the school will not be able to spend 6 hours in front of the computer because the dynamics are different. The way of learning is different. And so technology itself is not the answer. Technology must always remain a tool. So when education is seen through technology and technology is overcasted as the prime mover, then education becomes the tool and technology is the prime mover. And that's where we go wrong. And that is what I'm hoping to share.
Right. So what you say actually does make quite a bit of sense there. So, but isn't that what's happening right now? Everybody is looking technology as an all-new godlike creature, which is driving everything forward, including education as well. And there's a lot of technological buzzwords being thrown around every single day. So how do we address that?
So I made a statement a few days ago to a group of professionals, and I told them that today's landscape for education, driven by technology, okay? And I repeat, the word is driven by technology. But, so that means technology is only the driver. So what is the driver, or who is the driver driving? Education. So what is education today? We teach the same way we taught before. We cannot write and give worksheets the way we did before. So we need psychologists. We need educational psychologists. We need, I would even go as far as calling it the learning therapists. That the entire notion of a teacher becoming a lecturer, that concept is slowly changing. We are now becoming facilitators. We are becoming pointers. So in many ways, this goes back to the early years of how education and academia itself evolved. Yeah, and I like to say people like Thomas Alva Edison, and so these guys, they couldn't cope with school. Yeah, uh, and it is the questions, it is the strive towards seeking answers. Their journey in seeking answers and recording of those questions and answers is what gave us a library potentially. And that library today is in Google.
Yes,
So
indeed. Yes, indeed.
yeah, so we had the individual learner in the room asking the questions, taking a walk, and today we are back to the individual learner with Google in the room. So the culture, social culture of the person has not changed. We have gone back to point one, but with an additional equipment in our hands. And I think we should take advantage of that. And the advantage that we take is, how can we now leverage technology with the entire quest of education by redefining education, not linking education, not link. Many people, I mean, I have many suppliers who approach me and say, we have this portal, you'd like to buy, it's good, your teachers can do this, your teachers can do that. They are selling the portals and saying, that's what you need to teach today. And I'm saying, no, I do need technology. I am not selling a portal. We are in the business of education. And education is for humanity. And the way we communicate education is using the portal. You know, so the focus is always on what is education.
Right.
Yeah, go on. Sorry.
No worries. So Johnson, so you mentioned in passing just now about learners. So who are effectively the learners and where do we go from here in respect to them?
Okay. Traditionally in Malaysia, when I started school at kindergarten, we were 6 years old, and many of us didn't go to kindergarten. Some of them just went to standard 1, you know, and we were still learners. Today, in society, they are talking about learners from the ages of 3 who are going to nursery. And in my school, we are now debating to actually bring infants in, 0, from age 0
Wow.
to PhD. Yeah. So the learner is everybody. So humanity. So if I were to generalize and say something, I would say that being human is basically agreeing to be a learner. It's just the stage and the level that differs.
Well, it's true. At the end of the day, we never stop learning. From the day that we are born till the day we go 6 feet under, we are continuously learning day after day after day. Isn't that right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Right, fantastic. Now, there's a rhetorical question that I would like to ask you. Basically, who are you in that sense, in the bigger scheme of things?
Well, I was trained in the area of philosophy. So my entire thinking and framework, I operate out of a philosophical parameter. Yeah. And so I view education and academia from that perspective, and I see this. We have tried to look at skills. We need humans to have skills for the workforce. We need the workforce to generate an economy. Yeah? And that is often confused with academic. An academic pursuit is different from a pursuit of a skill. A surgeon is not an academic. A surgeon is a very skillful, vocational professional. An engineer is a skillful, professional, vocational, qualified person. Yeah. So academia and vocational is different. Of course, a person from vocational can choose to join the academia. He can be a surgeon and then get another qualification which is academic. So now the question or the challenge is, what is academia? If a doctor is a vocation and an engineer is a vocation, then what is academic? So we go back to traditional education, where things like philosophy, sociology, the humanities, these are the things that us, uh, builds us our own framework as a human person to understand humanity, the characteristics of the human person, global responsibility, and all of that. So many of these are missed out in a professional career because we we, we somehow compromise it with the word ethics. We have our professional ethics, and that compromises our need to understand humanism and socialism and all of that. So this is where this is a battle. It is not an answer, but it is an ongoing battle in the mind to refine and define continuously. And as we go with the refining and defining, that's how we get a clearer understanding how a human person should behave. And I think this situation with COVID-19 has taught the human race a lesson. And this is exactly what I'm trying to say. I don't need to go to work to get a job done. I don't need to go to office to get a job done.
Yep.
I don't need to meet my staff to make sure that they are working. So that, and I have more time to work from home. So it's a lesson that's being taught by nature to us to appreciate the role of our human lives, and that is education. How do we now put that into education? What are the bigger ideas? Are we here to just develop a skill, work, and then go 6 feet underground? Or what is the larger role that we have on this planet?
Right. Perhaps in this day and age, everyone is so focused about doing, being in it, achieving this, achieving that. They neglect the thought behind that. So everyone is living in the moment, perhaps, rather than looking at the bigger picture. So looking at the way how education has been stifled today, not just in Malaysia, probably around the world, what would be one tangible solution, practical solution that you could think of that could address this whole scenario?
Okay, I will give you an example which I am actually implementing. My company represents a body from the UK called Qualify. And what we do at Qualify in the UK is that we have somehow found a way to merge students with different skill sets to come on board and choose to either stay with the skill set or progress into academia with the award to a degree. So what I'm trying to say here is that we have, the UK has addressed this, and they have merged vocational education with academia. They are looking at not just online learning, but students the right word is independent learners. Yeah. So the development of the independent learner. How can I just proceed with finding a facilitator to point the student the right direction, and then the student himself finds the answers to his questions, does the assignments through either his work environment or his own research. So the culture of an independent learner, if that we can create further, that will bring us back to where we had the times when we had geniuses in our history, because we will no longer be caught up with the current moment, the now, because we are looking at reflection, we are looking at theoretical frameworks, while understanding that we still need a skill to put food on the table.
Yep.
See, at the moment, we have forgotten that there is something beyond putting food on the table. That's the issue.
Yep. Yep. Totally different these days. Everyone is, how do you say, getting caught up in the rat race, living day by day. They don't smell, take the time to smell the roses anymore. So that's perhaps something that we should ponder.
That's the word. The philosophical word for this is just that wonder. We have lost we have lost the sense to wonder. And when we have lost the sense to wonder, that limits our human experience. And actually, that even limits our learning experience. Because when you don't wonder, you memorize.
True, true. And that's one of the biggest gripe with regards to the Malaysian or generally the Asian education system. We don't use our brains in a creative thinking manner. It's about memorizing and regurgitating facts, which doesn't add value to you in your life moving forward. Probably that's one big concern and area we need to address in.
I've been involved with international schools and international school education for the last 10 years. I'm still doing it.
Yep.
If I compare international education with Malaysian education, in terms of content and superiority, the Malaysian content is superior.
Really? Interesting.
Yeah. Not the international content. However, if I have two students, one from the international school and one from the Malaysian school system, the Malaysian student, if I ask him a question, he will be able to answer me because he studied it, he memorized it. If I ask him how,
or why,
he will not be able to answer, and why, he will not be able to answer me. You know, but whereas the student from the international schools will tell you, okay, I understand what you're asking. Give me a moment. Let me come back to you. And they will go back, do a bit of research, find the information, come back to you and give it to you. So that's the difference. That's the independent learner. Yeah. So the weakness in our Malaysian education system is simply the application. Yeah, the application within the classroom and how we are communicating the learning process. Right. We did not have this problem with students who did MCE in 1970s. We have treasure riders in Pulau Pinang who speaks fantastic English because they studied MCE in the 70s. And we have taxi drivers later on who are coming from the local system who can't speak straight, like a straight sentence.
Yep. Yep.
You know? And so why is it that in our previous system, our MCE holders could become CEOs of organizations? Today, with SPM, it's not easy to get a job, even as a welder.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
It's overthinking. Are we developing thinkers, or are we developing people with relevant information for the job they need to do?
Well said. Yeah. Today, in this day and age, the paper is not sufficient enough. Unlike those days, because of, as you can see, how around the age of 16 or 17 who are now currently looking in terms of taking that next step. What would your one piece of advice be to them?
Listen to your heart. Listen to your heart. Follow your passion. Do not listen to your parents.
Interesting, well said. A lot of Asian parents might disagree with you, but it makes total sense. You have to do what you're passionate about, what you're interested in. Otherwise, it could be a bit difficult doing that for the rest of your life.
They will fail if they follow instructions. I've got candidates who have come to me for jobs. I've had medical doctors who have come to me to become teachers. And I told them, why did you do a medical degree and decide to become a teacher? I've always wanted to be a teacher, but my parents wanted me to become a doctor. You know? Come on.
Fair enough, fair enough.
I have students who fail maths and the parents want them to become engineers.
Yeah, that's true.
We've got to get a bit realistic,
and consistency is so important.
This is what we do at MapleTree as well. We provide guidance and assessments to align student with their strengths and talents.
Yeah, makes sense. Lead them down the right path, which they'll be able to totally express their full potential and capabilities in their daily lives.
That's right.
Fantastic.
And they will shine. They will shine.
What would be the measure that you would recommend that can tangibly be done in terms of perhaps regenerative learning or having a learning management system that will allow us to rectify all the current shortcomings that we see in the education system?
Sure, Raj. Now, to be specific, the technologies that have surfaced is fantastic solution for that. And what we have now is a learning management system. We have the portals, online portals, and beyond the learning management systems, we are able to regenerate. Yeah, we are able to regenerate a society with learning and bring back the values of learning and education through this. And my focus or my advice, tangible advice would be the example of Qualify in the UK, whom I work with, because through Qualify in the UK, we are connected to all the universities in the UK, and the students have a choice of traditional education or learning through a learning management system. And this makes it possible for children or students across the world who may not be able to afford to travel to the UK, but still avail those qualifications. So learning management systems is fantastic. It makes education affordable across societies and economic communities. However, it is how it is communicated and how we create the independent learner in the curriculum. That is what the challenge is now is.
Right, makes a lot of sense. Johnson, thank you so much for all your insights today.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thank you so much,
Fantastic. Raj. And there you have it. That wraps up this three-part webcast edition where we were focusing on teachers with technology, thanks to Doug, Brian, and now Johnson as well, where we were focusing on regenerative learning, how to move forward, how to make a difference to the current system infrastructure that we have in place in respect to the education system, and how we can make the most of it moving forward in the 21st century. Now do stay tuned for more interviews here on ESG TV in the weeks to come, which will then culminate in the Entrepreneurship and Sustainability Conference that will be taking place later this year. My name is Raj Arya, and on behalf of ESG TV, take care and goodbye.